Yeah, thanks, guys. Next, I'm going to move on to Mark from NA, who's going to talk 10-15 minute talk about NA. Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. You there? Sorry.
Have you unmuted the right Mark? So Narcotics Anonymous, the one with the Narcotics Anonymous.
That's my bad. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Where is he? No.
Find him.
I found him.
Hey. Right, Mark?
Hello, can you hear me?
Mark? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for this. Yeah, my name is Mark. I'm an addict. For those of you who don't know, who haven't been to meetings before recovery at all, I still, even though I'm not a using addict, I still identify myself as an addict. We believe at Narcotics Anonymous that we have an illness of addiction, it's a disease of addiction. So even though I'm clean, I still identify myself as an addict. So yeah, thanks for asking us to come along, Savannah. Apologies, I kind of, it's kind of had a bit of emergency at work, so I'm kind of thrown into this in the middle of a bit of a crisis at work. So I'm in a van. I've just got some documents with me. I can't really screen share. So what I'm going to do, the format is for me today, is just kind of talk to you briefly about, for those of you who don't know, about what Narcotics Anonymous is, a brief introduction about what we are and what we do. And then I'm going to hand over to Mark D, who's then going to do a sort of 10-minute share, his lived experience, shared experience of his recovery, how he got clean, why he got clean, and what he gets from Narcotics Anonymous. So I just kind of go through briefly a few sort of facts about NA. For those of you, I'm sure a lot of you do know about what Narcotics Anonymous is, but there might be some of you that don't. So Narcotics, and I just, like I say, I'd like to normally screen share, but I kind of haven't got the luxury today, so apologies for that. So Narcotics Anonymous is a community of people who support each other to achieve and maintain a drug-free life. The only requirement for participation in NA is a desire to stop using drugs. There are no membership fees, and each group is fully self-supporting. NA is not allied with any religion, institution, or other organisation. NA exists solely so that its members can support each other to stay drug-free and help others achieve and maintain a drug-free recovery and lifestyle. In NA, we are not concerned about what drugs people may have used, what they have done in the past, or what their personal status might be. We're only interested in what they want to do to change their life and how we can help. Addiction cuts across all segments of society and age groups and affects people in different ways. In the beginning, many who come to our meetings think they are different and will not belong. But on attending meetings and hearing others talk about their experiences, they often realise how similar these are to their own. NA is currently referred to in the UK as a mutual aid organisation. NA helps addicts to stop taking drugs, get well, and change the quality of their lives. We mutually help each other. We consider those that are new to NA to be the most important people in our meetings, because we have learned that helping others is a gift that reinforces our motivation and desire to stay drug-free. NA offers support for life. It is a community of people who have overcome their drug problem and who are freely available to help those who also have a desire to live drug-free. It costs nothing to be an NA member. You are a member of NA when you say you are. There are no waiting lists for NA if people want to attend a meeting and just need to show up. Prior to the COVID outbreak, there were about 1,250 NA meetings in the UK, throughout England and Scotland and Wales. In the absence of physical meetings, we've currently still got over 950 online UK-based meetings a week. And currently at the moment in Bristol, we've currently got 6 meetings which are now running in person, which I'll put some details up in the chat around that, along with our local PI website address and a helpline number if anyone wishes to contact me or any other of NA regarding meetings. Just one other thing I just want to quickly read out. So what is an NA meeting? Meetings are where you can find support from others. We've already, hang on, sorry, wrong one. Apologies for this. Like I say, I've been kind of thrown in last minute. Right, what is NA? NA is a non-profit fellowship society, men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There is only one requirement for membership, the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organisations. We're not connected with any political, religious or law enforcement groups. We're under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. So a meeting is where you can come and find support from others who have already been where you are now. Come along, no appointment necessary, and you'll see others getting clean and staying clean. And hopefully this will inspire and believe that you can too. Right, so what I'm going to do now is basically hand you over to Mark D, who's going to share his experience around having Narcotics Anonymous. I guess for around 10 minutes, Mark, if that's okay, and then I'll sort of come back in and then hand it back over to you guys. Is that okay? And while it's on in the chat, I'll put our local PI website. If any organisations want us to come along and do in-person or online presentations, we're currently doing that. And I'll put the helpline number in as well, and I'll put my own personal number in as well. So if anyone wants any details regarding Narcotics Anonymous, hopefully that will help. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Can someone just give me a quick thumbs up to make sure you can hear me? Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm just going to set a timer because I like to waffle on. Recovery Festival. Hello. Thank you very much for having us. It's a real privilege for us to be able to come along and talk a bit about Narcotics Anonymous with you guys. And I hope that I can kind of share some of my experience, which shows you a little bit about what NA is, what it does, what it's done for me personally. I caught the end of Charlotte's share, and she did a fantastic share, and I think she covered all the kind of principles that I wanted to cover, so that takes a little bit of pressure off me, so thank you very much, Charlotte. So yeah, like I said, it's a privilege to be asked to come along and talk to you a little bit about NA, because NA categorically is the thing that has changed my life. It's the most important decision I ever made, was to go to an NA meeting. I used drugs for 11 years, and like most people's experience, I'd imagine almost everyone's experience on this particular Zoom meeting at the moment, it started off as fun. Then it was fun with consequences, and then it just became consequences, and it was consequences for a very long time for me. And it led to breakdowns in relationships, disappointment after disappointment with my family, huge amounts of debt, physical damage, emotional damage, spiritual damage that I did to myself through kind of my through my addiction and through my drug use, and I couldn't stop, and I tried many times through many different methods to stop using drugs, and I could not stop. And so I decided, I made a decision that I wanted to stop, and I didn't know what to do. And I found NA through a couple of different channels. So I have an uncle who lives, if you can detect an accent, I'm from South Wales, and I have an uncle that lives in South Wales, and he got sober through another fellowship, and we didn't really have very much contact, but I was aware this had happened. So I was aware that there was some kind of meetings or program of recovery that people could go to help them get off whatever that particular substance they were using was. So I was aware of that in the background. And then, I wish I had an elaborately wonderful story where, I just had some kind of happenstance meeting where I ran into someone and told them my problems, and they went, "Oh, you should go here, or you should do this, you should do that." When I reached the stage where I was ready to stop using drugs, I actually just Googled how to get off drugs. And the Google result that came up first was Narcotics Anonymous. So I knew there was meetings in Bristol. So I'd realized there had been meetings in Bristol that I could go to, and I had no concept of what those meetings were going to do, what they entailed, what I needed to do as part of those meetings. I just knew that there was a thing called meetings that I should go to if I had a problem with drugs. So on February the 3rd, 2017, I went to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting on a Sunday evening. And I was desperate. And I was in a huge amount of pain. I was in a huge amount of debt. I was on the verge of losing my job. And yeah, I was broken, and I didn't know what to do. So I kind of went to this meeting as like a last ditch attempt to do something about my problem, my inability to stop using drugs. And I went to this meeting. It was in a place in Bristol. I don't know if we can name places. I don't know what the rules are here. It was in Salvation Army House behind Cabot Circus. I don't know if everyone knows that, but that's a scary place to try and get into at the best of times. But when you're actually like trying to go in, when I was anxious, I'd used very recently, I was afraid, I didn't know what to expect, so I was kind of had to plow my way into this building. And as soon as I kind of came into the meeting, immediately someone came over to me and sat next to me and asked me why I was there, what I'd used, like what, if I wanted to stop, and he said something incredibly practical that stuck with me. And he listened to what I had to say, and then at the end, when I stopped speaking, he just said, I'd recommend you attend 90 meetings in 90 days. You listen to the similarities of what people are sharing here, not the differences. And I can promise you, if your life hasn't changed after 90 days, your dealer will still pick up the phone to you. And that was an extraordinary practical piece of advice that I really needed to hear, because it gave me this perspective that I had nothing to lose. I could just try this for a period of time, and if it didn't work, I had nothing to lose by going back to, well, I had everything to lose, but in my head, I had nothing to lose, and I could go back to the type of life I was living. So I sat down, the meeting began, and the person who was doing the main share, who was speaking for a certain length of time at the beginning of the meeting, was, at the time, I was 27, and he was 27 years clean. He hadn't used drugs for 27 years. And this blew my mind. I couldn't fathom that someone had been clean as long as I'd been alive. That was just unfathomable to me. So I was obviously wrapped on everything this guy said. And what struck me about the meeting itself is that it was not this kind of somber, miserable affair I assumed it would be. It was a very it was fun. It was fun. It was funny. People were laughing. People were identifying. It was like there was an energy to the room that I wasn't expecting. But the thing that stuck out to me about that first meeting, and Mark talked about it very briefly when he was doing the readings just there, is about the disease of addiction. And I'd never thought to consider my addiction as a disease or a mental disorder or some kind of intrinsic problem that I had. And I'm sure, it's a controversial idea whether addiction is a disease or not. I prefer, I like to think of it as a useful concept to understand the ways in which I experience and react when I put substances in my body. That's how I like to think of it. And whether it's real or not, it is my experience. So it's just a useful term to use. But when people began sharing back in the meeting, there was a gentleman there, and he could not, he's a good friend of mine now, but he could not have been more different from me in terms of the drugs he used, the background he came from culturally. His story was kind of intravenous drug use, homelessness, all stuff that were yets for me, things that I hadn't yet done that I was probably heading towards. But he was completely different. And what he shared was the thing I identified and resonated with me the most. And he said, if I was in court and I was being tried for being an addict, I would have to go guilty because the evidence is overwhelming that I'm an addict. And for some reason, when he said that phrase, the evidence is overwhelming that I'm an addict, a penny dropped for me. And I just suddenly had this perspective on my drug use that was objective, where I thought, hang on, if I was looking at my life objectively as a third party, just looking in, totally dispassionately with no emotion, and I looked at what I spend my time doing, what I spend my time thinking about, what I spend my money on, what I prioritize above everything else in my life, I would automatically have to say, oh, of course, you're an addict. You're obviously an addict. You are what these people are describing here. And as soon as I had that realization, I was like, right, okay, if I admit that this is true and I am an addict and I have this, I didn't really understand at the time, but if I have this disease of addiction, I should probably do what these people do, because they seem to be living a good life. They seem to be enjoying themselves, and they all seem to have been clean for, what was unfathomable lengths of time to me. So from my very first meeting, and this isn't everyone's experience of going to a meeting, I remained clean, and I've been clean since February the 3rd, 2017. So I'm 4 years and 4.5 years clean. And that is, you know, that's remarkable. When I say it, that's remarkable to me that I've been clean for that length of time. And I haven't done anything particularly special not even particularly, I haven't done anything special in my recovery beyond what was suggested to me by the people who came before me. So, you know, I was very quickly told that I need to get a sponsor, someone to guide me through my recovery and working the steps. I was told that I should begin working the 12 steps as a way to examine my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, things that I've done, things I need to make amends for. I was told to attend meeting regularly, which was very fortunate of me, because I know not everyone enjoys meetings, but I enjoy going to meetings. So going to meetings regularly has not been a chore or a difficulty for me. And it was also suggested that I do service, that I work to help other addicts who are struggling, you know, either with more time clean or less time clean than me, and just generally be a better person and be of service to others in my life. And you know, these suggestions were made to me in my first 30 days of being clean, and they struck me as extraordinarily practical ways to manage my addiction issues. And I knew, you know, that the whole just say no stuff, that never really worked for me. The idea of me just saying no to stuff never really worked for me. The idea of being able to make a choice, or being in a situation where someone would offer me drugs and I would just say no, that just didn't work for me. But I could, thank God I set a timer. I'll wrap up what I'm saying, but you know, I could reconcile myself with making a decision that I would choose to pursue. I would choose to follow these suggestions that people had made to me, and that way I would have a better chance of staying clean. Unfortunately, that's been the case for me over the last 4.5 years, and I, you know, I cannot express my gratitude enough for Narcotics Anonymous and what it's done for my life, because it has changed my life dramatically. And I wish I had more time to talk to you, but alas, we're on a time scale. But again, I'm very grateful to you all for allowing us to come and speak to you today. Thanks.